It's chilly. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Our whole lives got turned upside down. Our whole lives got turned upside down. I'm so glad that you're here doing this. It's perfect. Perfect. I know. Take all the time you need. Soak it in.
Good morning, and welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist here in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I'm Alan Seal, and I feel quite honored to be the worship associate for today on this very special service, our service of remembrance, which has become such a beloved tradition in this church. And I have to just say on a personal note, I'm in front of groups a lot, or at least I was before COVID, and it's the first time that I'm speaking to an audience live. And you know, we are remembering this service of remembrance, and yet we had to remember for a long time what it was like to be together. Take a moment and look around at one another. And hold one another in your hearts. My gosh, we're here together. What a gift. We come together as a church community, online and in person, committed to love and peace and justice. Our core values are authentic connection, courageous action, love, spirituality, and wonder. Our mission and our invitation to all of you: come as you are. Journey together in love. Act with courage. Transform our world. If you're visiting with us today, or maybe even here for the first time, a very special welcome to you. We're glad that you are here. You might have noticed that there's a little hum in the room. We have some air purifiers now scattered around for this time in COVID. There are 6 of them here in the sanctuary, and I think you said 2 downstairs, yes? So another part of our efforts to make this a very safe and comfortable place to us in these times. Our fall festival was supposed to have been yesterday, but that was rained out, so it is today, and it will be here in the garden on the parking lot side of the church. Please join us after the service for that fall festival. To access an electronic version of the order of service, if you look at the end of your pews, you'll find a card with a QR code. You can actually use that to access that order of service online. And if you are with us from home on your computer, then you can click on a link that's just underneath the live stream. Every Sunday, we talk about how it's no small thing that we're together, especially in these times. Each one of us comes with our own needs and desires for this very sacred time. So, let's give ourselves to it. We welcome one and all to our church and to our worship. Thank you for joining us. It's good to be together.
Our call to worship this morning is a calling in and a remembering of our ancestors, those we have loved and learned from, those who live on in perpetuity in our hearts, our minds, and our actions. Fire has always been important in ceremonies honoring the dead. Whether bonfires, hearth fires, candles, oil lamps, torches, or lanterns, their light is a symbol of honor and reverence. We light these candles of remembrance, now placed around the sanctuary, to embrace us so that our own beloveds may find the ways to our hearts, that we may be open to the wisdom and the messages of hope and love they would offer us, if only we listen and heed. After each group of relations is named, we will invite you to speak their names aloud. David, Alan, or I will invite you to do so at the appropriate time.
We light this candle to beckon our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, all the ancestors to whose love and care and sacrifices we owe our very existence. I invite you to speak their names aloud: parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents.
We light this candle for other family members who have gone before us: spouses, partners, children, siblings, aunts and uncles, cousins, nephews and nieces. We give thanks for the richness and love they provided in our lives. I invite you to say their names aloud.
We light this candle for members of our parish who have died in the last 12 months since our last remembrance service. We light candles in thanksgiving for the contributions they made to the life of the first religious society. Beth Cawley, Dick Daly, Jim Dyer, Blake Hughes, Ben Larrabee, Erica Marcotte, Pat Ouellette, Ruth Rankin, Chris Snow. I invite you to say their names aloud.
We light this candle for ancestors of another time, for those who have given life to our mind. Teachers, mentors, writers, artists, for the scientists and sages who have imparted knowledge and wisdom that outlives their earthly existence. I invite you to speak their names aloud. Teachers, mentors, writers, artists, scientists, and sages.
And we light this candle for our spiritual ancestors, for all those who have taught us the values by which we live, who have given us confidence in our own spiritual worth and the worth of every creature. Those who taught us by their life example, by their resistance to what is misaligned with truth, and by their written words, music, and art. Our spiritual ancestors. I invite you to say their names aloud. May it be so.
Please join now in speaking our chalice lighting words as David lights the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. There are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I invite you to speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle this morning is lit for Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, one of the black sites used by the CIA, where a prisoner has spoken out about the violations that they were subject to that went against the United Nations Convention Against Torture, an international human rights treaty. We pray for truth to prevail and for an upholding of human rights. Peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle this morning is lit for Colby Farm Lane, where an eco-brick collection bin has been set up. We celebrate the places, people, and activities that are committed to caring for our earth and doing all we can to work for climate justice, create harmony, and protect this amazing interconnected web of which we are a part. Peace, salam, shalom. We'll now join together in our opening hymn, number 101, Abide With Me. We continue to ask that for the safety of those who are gathered here in person, we refrain from singing, while those online, of course, sing your heart out.
Abide with me, fast falls eventide. The darkness deepens, still with me abide. When other helpers fail and comfort me, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close and out life's little day, earth grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changes not, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where, grave, thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me.
I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join our voices together in our affirmation of faith and the doxology, which for the time being we will speak together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land, by every tongue. You may be seated.
We come to the time in our service when our offering is gratefully received. If you're here with us in person, we encourage you to make an online donation using your mobile phone. And I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. The generosity of our community is essential ministry that support the work of the church to live out our values and our mission. A ministry that doesn't just end here in Newburyport, it extends on out to the world beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering that's not designated as pledge goes to a community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. Our October shared collection is supporting the Greater Newberry Elder Petform Fund, serving Newburyport, West Newbury, Amesbury, Salisbury, and Rowley. The fund works closely with councils on aging to identify elders in need. It then collects and distributes pet foods and financial donations. 100% of the donations go to our elders and their pets. Imagine the pain of having to give up a beloved pet, a best friend, because you couldn't afford food or veterinary care. If you're a pet lover like I am, that really hurts inside. So please support our deserving senior neighbors and their loving pets. So now, for the instructions about how to make your offering online. If you're viewing the order of service on your phone or on a computer from home, there's a link that you can click in that order of service or in the video description where you can make your contribution. You can also text a contribution by sending the word GIVE, FRSUU, that's all one word, GIVE, FRSUU, to the number 73256, 73256. If you prefer to make an offering by cash or check, you can fill in your check as the music is playing and drop it in one of the baskets as you leave the sanctuary. And of course, you can always mail a check to the church. Thank you for your generosity.
This is the time in our service each week when we lift up the joys and the sorrows among our members and friends. I will share those that have been sent to me in advance, which you can always email to me by Friday or Saturday. Susan Ricker, our Pastoral Care Associate this morning, will light the candles as I read the joys and the sorrows. Jean Noonan asks that we light a candle of concern and hold her dear friend Carolyn in our thoughts and prayers. Carolyn is having major surgery tomorrow, and Jean asks and holds prayers for a good outcome and healing. We light a candle of sorrow for Nancy Peace and Marcia Greenbaum, her dear friend who died from COVID in January. Marcia was Nancy's mentor, friend, and fellow. We light a candle of concern and prayers for Lee McLaughlin and Maureen Adams and all other residents of Plum Island whose homes are in imminent danger due to the erosion occurring since the 2015 jetty repair. It would be appreciated, they write. Prayers may be all we have left. Sam Kimball asks that we light a candle of concern for his dear friend Bo, who is currently hospitalized with COVID-19. They are currently on a respirator and being treated at Holy Family Hospital in Methuen. We light a candle of concern this morning for Linda Tully's daughter, Carrie, also called and named Nishala, who is facing increased health challenges. We pray for Nishala, her son, Linda, and their family as they walk through these incredibly challenging times. We light a candle of joy for Reverend Rebecca, thank you, and Bart, my husband, who are taking their 15-year belated honeymoon next week in Sedona, Arizona. This is true. No. And we light one final candle, as we do each week, for all the joys and all the sorrows that, although unmentioned, are just as important and held just as close in our hearts. Our pastoral prayer this morning is a call and response from the poem, We Remember Them. I will speak a stanza or a phrase, and I invite you to respond each time with, we remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us, as we remember them. It is so beautiful to be here and to look at many of your faces and know who you're remembering as we're walking this path together, and I hold you all very close in my heart.
Your faces I remember, all my
Our reading this morning is entitled When Great Trees Fall by Maya Angelou. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent on their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blossoms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. I have been with many dying people, and it is often beautiful. I'm sure many of you have sat beside a bedside of a loved one as they passed, perhaps even had the good fortune to sing to them or hold their hand, surrounding them with a circle of love made up of family members and friends. Sadly, we know that is not always the case. Death can also be tragic, unexpected, and painful. An amazingly sad number of people die alone, poignantly true during this COVID-19 pandemic. We also live in a country where death has, by and large, been made into a medical experience, something to be avoided rather than a natural course of events. Yet we know that death is not the final word, regardless of the circumstances. People and animals that we love live on in our minds, our hearts, and our lives long after they die. People's lives and their deaths leave their imprint on us, often in surprising ways. I remember the grief and the shock of the parents whose 21-year-old son died from an overdose, having become addicted to opioids after an injury in high school sports. Their love and grief humbled me and all who grieved with them, and I carry them every day. My husband's life was permanently changed after he witnessed a car accident many years ago, driving home from work one afternoon. He was driving through a suburban neighborhood. A man was walking across the street when he was struck by a car. Bart pulled to the side of the road, knelt down with the man, and held his hand as he was dying. He just wanted to know he wasn't alone, Bart said. I witnessed a softening that happened with my husband that day, and it has never left. So too, I've been shocked by the surprises that can accompany death. How my own mother's skin became translucent as she sat in her living room, surrounded by golden light, even as her body was racked with pain from a lifetime of mistreatment and poor health care. Or, in the hospital, the woman who came back to life after being pronounced dead by the nurse, as her family and I surrounded the bed holding hands and prayed the Lord's Prayer, and she sat up, causing her grown daughters to believe in miracles. I've seen the struggles that death can bring. The old man frustrated because he was so ready to die, and his body would not let go. The young woman frozen in grief over her stillborn child. So too have I been with those left behind after their loved one's death, as they made room for their layered and complicated feelings: shock, despondency, regret, remorse, gratitude, and even relief. All of these are normal. There's no right way to die or to deal with the death of someone we love. There is only our way. If anything unifies us as people, it is death. We will all die. We will all lose people we love. We can be assured of these things. Death is a great equalizer, even in its varieties of circumstances. Perhaps the question then is not how to stop from dying, but rather how to live our lives and the numbered days we have remaining. Having conversations about death and how we live before we die can be transformative and helpful for everyone involved. Doing so can allow us to share our fears, our hopes, and our wishes for our death and our lives. Atul Gawande, author of Being Mortal, writes, "If end-of-life discussions were an experimental drug, the FDA would approve it." Now, these are not always easy conversations to have. People fear that they're depressing, or they think they're not necessary. When I ask parishioners if they've talked with their loved ones about their wishes for their memorial services, funerals, They will more often than not respond, "Oh, they know what I want," referring to their family. This is not necessarily true. People don't always know what we want, even if we think they do. I've supported many families as they struggle to plan funerals, to envision meaningful memorial services, and to discuss the distribution of belongings. You may think you've had these conversations, however, they're good to have on a regular basis. Because remember, my friends, those who you are discussing with these things often don't want to remember, and we need to remind them. When we have them, it allows us to talk about what happens after our death, but also what matters while we're alive, how we want to die, and what quality of life means to us, because that is different for every person. In his book, The 5 Invitations, Frank Kostensky writes this. He says, "We will never know who we are and why we are here if we do not ask these uncomfortable questions." We learn about ourselves as we prepare for and have these conversations, in addition to helping our loved ones. Becoming intimate with and able to talk about these things makes our present days all the more beautiful. We remind ourselves what matters. Ostesky asks, could we turn toward death like a master teacher and ask it, how then shall I live? The question of death and what it has to teach us is at the core of the work of social science, medicine, and many theologies, notably Buddhism. And in his decades of work as a chaplain at the Zen Buddhist Hospice Center in San Francisco, Frank Ostesky identifies 5 things the dying can teach us. He calls these the 5 invitations. And they include, number 1, don't wait. 2, welcome everything. Push away nothing. 3, bring your whole self to the experience. 4, cultivate don't know mind. And 5, find a place of rest in the middle of things. I invite you to consider each of these invitations for a moment, and maybe even choose one that you're inspired to focus on over some period of time to come. And I'll run through each of them briefly again. The first invitation that the dying teach us is don't wait. You've heard this question. What would you do if you knew today was your last day? So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting to do, to say, to offer? Don't wait. The next invitation is welcome everything. Push away nothing. Shonda Rhimes, creator of Grey's Anatomy, spent a year saying yes to everything she was invited to do. I recently spent a week doing one thing every day that scared me. Welcoming everything is radical. It doesn't mean we accept everything. It does mean that we can be open to it. We can ask what it has to teach us and how we might be changed by it. Welcome everything. Push away nothing. However, to do this, one must bring your whole self to the experience, which is the third invitation. It means we bring our heart and our curiosity as well as our head and what we think we already know to every experience. The fourth invitation is cultivate don't know mind. It happens when we approach life with an openness, allowing it to teach us, being open to being changed. And finally, the dying teach us about the necessity of finding a place of rest in the middle of things. Nature is a great teacher of this truth. Author and anthropologist Angelise Aryan writes this. She says, nature's rhythm is medium to slow. Many of us live in the fast lane, out of nature's rhythm. There are two things we can never do in the fast lane. We can neither deepen our experience nor integrate it. We can choose to slow down, or as many of us know, sometimes life does it for us. 7 years ago, I had a very serious accident which landed me in the emergency room. And as I lay there immobilized, I didn't know how things were going to turn out, or if I would survive. Surprisingly to me, the one thing I did know, and this surprised me, I knew it would be fine if I died. I knew it to the marrow of my bones. I had absolutely no fear. None. And I also knew that moment that if I did live, I would share that knowing that death is not scary at appropriate times, such as I am right now and have done many times, holding people's hands. Japanese monks have a tradition of writing short poems before their death, which I might encourage all of us to do, even now. Astesky practiced this with his hospice patients, and I have one I want to share with you as I close this reflection. It is entitled Sono's Death Poem. And this is what she wrote, Sono's death poem. Don't just stand there with your hair turning gray. Soon enough, the seas will sink your little island. So while there is still the illusion of time, set out for another shore. No sense packing a bag. You won't be able to lift it into your boat. Give away all your collections. Take only new seeds and an old stick. Send out some prayers on the wind before you sail. Don't be afraid. Someone knows you're coming. An extra fish has been salted. The process of death really can teach us what matters, which for many of us is far less than we might think. Focus on those things that matter, my friends, and allow them to fill your days. Amen, and blessed be. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to hold up the picture of a loved one who has died. And if you didn't bring one, that's fine. Bring to your mind's eye that picture of a loved one who has died, or loved ones. But before we hold those up and share them, look at that picture. Just set everything else aside for a moment. Connect to that person or people. And ask yourself, what lives on from them? What is something they taught you? And tell them that. You may even want to speak the words aloud or in your heart. Thank you for teaching me. As you look into their eyes, tell them what you miss. I miss your... And finally, what is something you want them to know right now? I want you to know that and now let's hold our photographs in the air so we can bring these beloved souls into this sanctuary with us. Look around you. Feel the love in this space. Remember these people.
And as we continue, you're welcome to hold your photograph, set it down, whatever feels right for you. In the ancient Celtic tradition, these last days of October are celebrated as the time when the veil lifts between the seen world and the unseen world, between the physical world and the spiritual world. It's a kind of a liminal space when hearts and souls can journey back and forth. Time and space disappear. And we have that moment of amazing connection. And in various expressions of the Christian tradition, in these first 2 days of November, are all about celebrating the saints of the church. And on November the 2nd, then celebrating the souls of those who have gone before us. Those perhaps whose shoulders we stand on now. As we go into a little ritual for this, imagine that your left hand represents the past. And your heart is right here, right now. And your right hand is the future path that you walk from this moment forward. And with your left hand, right now, in this magical time from the Celtic tradition, the veil lifts. Reach through and touch those who you are celebrating today. Maybe you take their hand, you feel their presence, however that is for you. And you know, a part of what we miss for those people who have gone before us are what they touched inside of us. What it was like to be with them. The part of us that came alive when we were with them. Touch that. Be in touch with that aliveness and bring it into your heart because it's still alive right there. That person may be gone from walking beside you on this earth, and yet who you were with them, that's still alive inside of you. Touch that. Be blessed by it. And your right hand, representing the path that you walk from this moment forward, bring that to your heart now. So that your moments in life with these dear loved ones still live right here in your heart. And bringing them together into this path that you walk forward into the world. Every day, They are with you. Every day, that part of you that was so alive with them can live on. And this is a part of how they live on. Take a moment in the silence. Touch them, love them, hold them in your heart, carry them forward from today on. We celebrate all those on whose shoulders we stand as we walk forward in time. I'll leave you in the silence for a moment, then I'll return. As you stay in this gentle space, if you wish, open your hymnal to number 389. I know this rose will open. And as Don sings it, feel free to hum along. That's still safe in these moments times.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Please join in our unison benediction as David extinguishes the chalice. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. My friends, again, everyone is invited to join us outside, even for a few minutes, for our fall festival. But before and as we do, I invite you to just feel the warmth, the love, the ages, the ancestors, the future, all those we love to have died, all those we love who are not with us, who are still living but who are separated by body. That love, that warmth, that will heal us. May we carry it with us, knowing that wherever we go, we belong. We are a part of that love. And then, as we see those through the week, that need love, whether they're angry, bitter, afraid, despondent. Share the love and learn that from that, it only grows. Go in peace, my friends, and return again in great joy. Amen and blessed be.